Hello, everyone. Today, I would like to share with you a personal story, actually, on how we powered up our development speed by migrating to Vite. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Vasil Dimitrov, and I'm a front-end engineer in Banking Circle. Actually, I like hanging out on Twitter quite a lot, so you can always find me there. Cool. So I think I joined Banking Circle about a year ago, and back then the team had just started a new project. As you guys know about it. So I initially started as a proof of concept, where the project was built on top of Create React app, so they can quickly spin up the project and start developing. Of course, it was proved the concept was proved to be working, and then the team started adding more and more features to it. So end design was selected as a shared component library, and GraphQL Apollo was selected for the API layer. So overall, everything looked good since we were using Create React app with default configuration, and we had like these two big libraries, right? There were like some smaller ones, but they're really not worth mentioning here. So, and thus one day, I was asked to develop a new feature on this project, and I was, this is really exciting now. I'm going to touch this new project. Let's see how it's like everything there set. And then I just go fork the repo, then I do the authentication, then I install packages, and then I done GraphQL code gen, and I feel like I did a lot quite. Now I'm just like ready to start typing. And then just to boot up the dev server, right? I do yarn start, and I get this. And I'm kind of now, okay, I know that just need to boot up the dev server, and I can like start typing, right? I kind of started even. Let's see, something's going to happen here, maybe. Oh, yeah, okay, it's moving then. It cannot be that far away from just booting up the dev server, right? And I was like, oh, so I want to type something, right? I started imagining like const, use, state. Oh, come on, give it to me. Like, why is it taking so much time? It's like create React app with the base configuration, right? And it has like two big libraries. Like, it should be fast enough to spin up the dev server. It's not done yet. Let's wait another minute, maybe. Second, let's see. Come on. Is it ready yet? No? Okay. Yeah, one of these awkward moments in a presentation where just like you're looking at a number spinning, going up, and then nothing happens really. But it's kind of to get the feeling, right, that you need to wait. It's like you're waiting for dev server to boot up. When's gonna be? Come on, just like maybe now. I feel like okay, every moment now. Is that close? Maybe. That was it. Do you see? It's like it took just like 70 seconds to boot up the dev server, right? And after that, you can start developing. I think it's quite frustrating, isn't it? Just like every time you switch a project or then you restore dependencies, you need to go through this every time. Like just when you wait 70 seconds, it's like I think it's a cure, right? It's like too slow. We developers like things to be fast, right? When we develop things fast, so we kind of expect that things are also fast. But I remember like back then that I saw like light in the end of the tunnel. There were more and more people started talking about ES-Build and Vite, and I was like, oh, what is this? Let's try to read about. So let's take like this guy, for example, just migrated an app from Create React app to Vite. Mind blown. Like, fuck, exactly what I need, right? It's migrating the Create React app to Vite, mind blown. It seems like things are happening fast. What is this one saying? Vite is the fastest thing in the world. That's a statement. That's what I like. It's like exactly what we need, right? And what about this one? Toying around with Vite.js, and I never seen a dev server starting that fast. It's like, okay, it seems like there are also other people with the same problem. It's not just me, right? And there were like more and more people talking about it. And I was like, okay, this Vite, I need to check, like, what is that actually? Cool. So, but what is really Vite, right? I think the first thing that I should say here is that it's pronounced Vite and not Vite. I know it's like very tempting to say Vite for like non-French speaking person like myself, but they named it like in French Vite, so we should stick to it. So Vite is a developer tool that is built on top of ES-Build and Rollup. And ES-Build is that fast bundler, kind of one of the new ones, right? That is written in Go and that claims to be the fastest, but now there is another one, SWC, which now seems that Next.js 12 is using and is supposedly faster, but anyhow, I mean, it's fast. So Vite is using ES-Build and it's fast. And the other thing that is using Vite is also Rollup, and I think Rollup is something that more people know about it, and it has been kind of in the market for a while, right? It's another bundler. Cool, so let me share with you some key features of Vite. First, Vite offers fast booting up dev server using ESB with dependency caching. Then the hot module reloading is instant, where our content, our code is not bundled, but directly served to the browser over native ESM. Then the bundling is done with rollup, since this is the most mature solution at the moment. And yeah, this is as of today, right? We don't know tomorrow. They may decide to go with a different one, but as of today, that's how it works. And then Vite handles all kind of like CSS module, all kind of styles for us out of the box. Like we don't need to do anything about it. They'll be just like there. So now I'm sure that everybody's asking, how do I migrate our current solution to this beauty, right? And here I need to make a disclaimer. So I will be kind of showing some few things that are talking about migration from Create React App to Vite. But I think pretty much if you're using custom Webpack configuration or like rollup or any other kind of bundle, right, you can follow the same pattern, right? So just bear with me and you'll figure out. Cool. So first, let's start with the entry point. That's where actually everything starts, right? So the index.html. And if you remember with Create React App, actually our entry point is located in the public folder. And what we need to do with Vite, we need just to move it to the root of the project, because that's where Vite expects to see the entry point. And this here is just a kind of bare minimum configuration that you may have in the index.html. And if you remember that here in the head in the lib tag, in the href attribute, we have this public URL. It's a thing that Create React App and Webpack, they were replacing with your public URL at build time. So this thing, it won't work with Vite any longer, right? So what we can do, we can either make the path relative, just starting with slash, or we can just prepend our domain. And then kind of that's problem is solved. And the second thing that we need to do here is actually to add the entry point for our code. So here inside the body, we just need to add a script tag, and then the source is pointing to the entry point for our code. And in this case, it's just index.tsx, right? And the important bit here is that actually the type attribute is equal module, which tells the browser that the content that we are serving with the script is going to be native ESM modules, right? And that's what makes Vite actually fast. That doesn't bundle anything. It just serves to the browser. Cool. That's it. With that, you have an entry point that you can use with Vite. As simple as that. Cool. Let's look at kind of the base Vite configuration. And of course, here you need to install Vite, add it to your dev dependencies. And you need to add also vite.config file in the root of your project. Here is kind of the defined config methods that you need to pass your properties. And let's say that we want to add a hot module reloading for our React application, right? So what we need to add the plugin, which is called plugin React Refresh. And then we just add it under the plugins option. And that's all. I mean, just by doing that, you have hot module reloading that works for you. You don't need to do any changes in your application code. It just works and it's fast. Cool. One additional thing that you may need to do in case you're using React 17 is that you need to add this one-liner. And this goes around the new feature that React 17 introduced, where the transformation was done in a different way from JSX to JavaScript. So plugins like, not plugins, but like bundles like Webpack and Babel, they were taking care of actually the transformation for us. But in this case, ESBuild doesn't know how to do the transformation, so we need to inject this one-liner, import React from React in our code, right? So we don't need to write it actually ourselves. And here, the last thing that you may want to do is actually to change the output directory to build, so that kind of keeps the same output directory as before. And that's it. That's kind of the bare minimum configuration that you need with Vite to kind of get you up and running. Cool. Let's look at a different aspect here, which is the environment variables. So there are like two options here to handle the environment variables. And if you remember with Create React App, we had to prepend all of our environment variables with React App and then the name of the variable. And the way that is was used in the code, it was just process.env and the variable. So when we're migrating to Vite, what we actually need to do is this. So we are replacing that prefix of React App with just Vite, right? And then the way that we can use it in our code is through import.meta.env and the name of the variable. I think it's important here to mention also that node buildings like process and crypto are no longer available in our application code. This kind of a big difference because before Create Act App and Webpack, they were kind of giving that for us, so it was kind of given. But now it just doesn't work anymore, and it makes sense, right? This is node code. What can do in our client-side code. So this is the first option to handle the environment variables, but this option will require kind of changing your application code. But anyhow, this is the recommended way to go. So there is kind of one option more, which is a bit lazier in a way that doesn't require changing your application code. And how it works is that we keep the same environment variables as before, but then in our Vite configuration file, under the define, we define process.env, and then we pass all the name of the variable that we want to be available. Since this is something that runs in a node process, right, then we have access to process.env, and then we can read the name of the variable. So this change really doesn't, this way of handling environment variables doesn't require any change of your application code. Cool. I want to share here with you one thing that really got me surprised when I was doing this migration, and that's how are the imports resolved. Here is just a simple example, for example, how we do our imports. So we import a component from, we import our my component, let's say in this case, from component/my component. So what is interesting about this import is that is actually absolute import, right? So for me it was, but actually what we meant, it was like this one. So we meant that it's import from /source/components. And what is interesting here is that actually, in case you're using TypeScript, right, it was kind of given for me that if we set that base URL in our tsconfig file to point to the source folder, then TypeScript knows how to resolve the imports, but also then the bundler somehow magically knows how to resolve them. And that was the case with Webpack, right? They was like magically doing that. So that got me really confused until I figured out what's the problem. But to solve this problem, there are like two solutions here as well. The first one actually doesn't require any change of your application code. So there is a plugin which is called Vite tsconfig paths, and then we can just add it to the plugins option in our Vite config file, right? And just by doing that, we can keep using our imports the same way with the absolute path. So this will make sure that imports are resolved as TypeScript. The second option, which is kind of the more recommended, right, option is to use alias. So in this option, we need to, for example, prefix all of our imports with, in this case, @sign. And then in our Vite config file, we need to say that resolve resolve alias it's equal for the /source. And that's going to make it work. So then the imports will be correctly resolved. Cool. And I know that this now got a bit too much of a code. So that was it really. So all we had to do is just that. I mean, that's kind of the bare minimum that you need to do so you can get actually a dev server up and running with Vite, right? And let's see like how it feels. And like, so here pretty much you need just to change your start command or dev command, whatever you have in your package.json, right? And then just run it. And let's see like actually what is the result here. Okay, so the server is booting up. That gives me a little bit of time to think about what I'm gonna type next. Const.use. Oh, that was it. There you see, just in 11 seconds, it made everything available. Isn't it this amazing? I mean, come on, this is fast right now compared to what we had before, and compare that these small configuration changes that we had to do. Like even our application code is more or less the same. We didn't need to touch that, and that's the best part actually of the migration, because if you don't like it or tomorrow that SWC is even like better, then you can just switch and your application code is going to be the same. No changes there. And that, I think I remember like back in the day, Paul, who is sitting over here, he was like telling me, Vasil, this is not going to work. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean, Paul? I was like, are you joking? It's so fast. No, Vasil, this is not going to work because booting up the dev server is the time in the morning that we go and grab our coffee. And now this is too fast. We cannot make it. And I was like, okay, I see what you mean now. Okay. Yeah, he was joking, of course, but it's amazing. This became dark all of a sudden. I don't have a clue why. Cool. So here I just want to put kind of the two videos next to each other so you can kind of grasp how fast is one and how slow is the other one, right? To get some good idea. And here on the right, I have like summary of actually for what we measured and what we saw, right? So the starting the development server, the time to start the development server was reduced with 60 seconds. That's huge, right? This is like it's like 1 minute. So you're saving 1 minute every time you start the development server, and it's not that much about really the time of one. It's like 1 minute or 40 seconds or 2 minutes. It's just the perception that you need to wait, right? And we developers don't like waiting. We just like things to happen for us, the same way that we develop things. We make things fast. So the whole module reloading, it for approximately 2.5 seconds, right? It became instant. So it's that fast that you make a change, you turn your head to kind of to the other monitor, and then it's already there. And sometimes it's so fast that you have a moment of uncertainty. Did it really update, or I missed something? There are even people who wrote plugins that to show you that the hot module reloading actually happened, and then there was something, right? It's like that fast, I'm telling you. And the build for production, we reduced the time with 2 minutes. So imagine this is huge, right? So we're saving 2 minutes every time on the CI when we run when we're bundling for production, and that's amazing. So you kind of get all of this, right? These results, and then you go and show it to your colleagues, like I did back in the days, and they're gonna love you, right? Because the things are just fast, and they are not annoyed to wait for things to boot up the dev server or to see the hot module reloading. And then you take the same thing, right? And then you show it to your manager. And he's going to love you also because you're making your colleagues happy. And that's very important, right? And then you take these results and then you show this to the guy in your company who is paying the bill for the CI. And he's going to love you because you're saving 2 minutes every time you're bundling for production. Isn't it amazing? Just like with that simple configuration we did. Yeah, it's all good. Cool. So there is, we cannot figure out why this is dark. So there are like actually two things that we need to do really before getting rid of create React app and then deleting it. That brings also that 1,000 packages we did and stuff like that. And the first thing is getting overrunning tests. And this here is like a simple Jest configuration that we need to do. And of course, we need to install Jest and th Jest in case you're using TypeScript. And then kind of this is the bare minimum that you need pretty much. The good part about running Jest yourself is actually that you can try to speed up the test runner, right? For example, over here, I added like max workers to 4, kind of you can play with the numbers, see what's going to work better, and then isolate modules equals true and stuff like that, right? But anyhow, I think if you think that this is complicated and overall Jest is slow, then I recommend listening to our second presentation today, where Wars will tell us actually how we can speed up our tests using Vite. That's going to be amazing, I'm sure. Cool. The second thing that you need to do actually is take over running linting. And this is again some bare minimum configuration that you may need to add. I think the easiest way to go here is really just to do npx eslint -- init and just pass the init flag, right? And with that, eslint will guide you through a few steps where you need to choose like using React or whatever, and then you're gonna get like this bare minimum configuration set for you. So you can start from there, and then you can add more if you need to do so. And that's it. Now you can just get rid of create React app and enjoy the fast speed train of it. You and your fellow colleagues are gonna love it, I promise. Cool, guys. And then here, one last thing that I would like to share with you is a community survey that started last year, and the results were announced this year on a james.conf, which was held like a few weeks back. So what you see here on the graph is like a bunch of frameworks and libraries like React, jQuery, whatever, Next, Svelte. Vite is also here, of course. And then these are all the dots on the screen. And then horizontally is the percentage of people who are using it. And then over here is the satisfaction score. So what you can see is that Vite is number 14, right? And number 14 is up there. That's a lone guy who is sitting at the top. So Vite has like actually the highest satisfaction score of 9.6. It's like really, really high compared to the rest of the frameworks here. But one thing that you can also notice is that actually the percentage of people who are using it is very low. It's like goes around 15%. And to me, is that either people are kind of not aware that Vite exists and it can be used, or people are afraid to switch to it. So I hope that with my presentation today, you learned that Vite is a super powerful tool that can be easily plugged into an existing system. Thank you. Cool. Anybody any have questions? Yep.
With okay, if you have problem with hot reloading,
Yeah.
is it will help to solve it? Sometimes you have delay with it, or it's only for starting up the project.
Yeah, of course it's going to help you. Like one of the features that Vite offers is also the instant hot module reloading. So it's not just starting the project, but there are like three main things, right? So starting the dev server, hot module reloading, and then bundling. So Vite will take care of three of them. And of course, there are also other features that Vite offers, like handling the styling and all that for you out of the box. Code splitting also in a way that it will kind of preload bundles and routes and stuff, which is, I think, very nice. But one of these a bit hidden features that not everybody is aware of. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you consider any other bunters or tools?
Yeah, so actually in the team, it's not myself, but like in the team, we try to use a Snowpack. And that was also one of these cases where we tried to migrate our existing application to Snowpack, but then the whole migration turned out to be very complicated and it didn't work. So it seems like the Snowpack solution may work if you start a brand new project, but then when you come to kind of the migration part, it turned out to be very complicated. So then, yeah.
I think I also saw that when you presented your talk to me, I also just Googled Vite and like Webpack. You know, someone else might have tried migrating Webpack to. And then I discovered that someone has made a project to almost do it automatically.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Actually, and that's true. There are at least few articles that how you can do it, and then there are talks and videos and stuff like. So if you're interested, you can just take a look on them. It's just a different angle, I guess, of like showing it to you and then kind of getting you to know more or less, right? But definitely, I recommend if you start doing this migration, then just go read a bit more, right? Because there are, of course, some hidden stones here and there that you need to kind of find your way around. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you see any drawbacks in Vite comparing to CRM?
I'm sorry?
Do you see any drawbacks in Vite comparing to CRM?
Any drawbacks? That's a good question. I haven't thought about it. I don't know. Since we switched to Vite, we don't have any regrets about it. So yeah, at least yeah.
You're paid by the hour, then.
Yeah, that could be a drawback. Yeah. Yeah. Worse.
Yeah, so if you're using another tool that kind of depends on Webpack, like for example Next.js, how can you? Does that make it more complicated to switch to Vite, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think in the case of Next.js, everything it's done for you, right? In a way that it's very difficult to extract its Next.js configuration from Webpack. So I think that migration Next.js to Vite is going to be very interesting to see, but I'm not sure how that's going to work. Yeah. But anyhow, like Next.js seems to be doing very well right now. It's Next.js 12 that is using the SWC and stuff like that. So it seems to be that they're getting on that fast train. They have the right people, right? All these Rust guys who are like very on a high level, right? Developing tools. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.